Welcome back, trainers, your go-to stop for all things YPL and where the preseason hype is very, very real. Today's guest has been setting the draft community abuzz with a name like the Cambridge Camerupts, and you know the heat's coming. Let's give a warm welcome to Coach Squirly. What's up?
Hello.
Hi. How's it going?
I'm doing good right now.
Yeah, like in the end, I just want this to be you and I talking. It's really just so everybody can kind of get to know the player behind the team, because we just see Squirly on a screen. We see a logo that's pretty cool. Did you draw that yourself?
Oh, that was made by a friend of mine. Probably a good 4 years ago.
Yeah.
It's not changed much since, but...
Well, Camerupt's a really cool Pokemon. Like, it's like you don't see a whole lot of Camerupt anywhere. So is that like your favorite Pokemon or something, or?
No, it's unfortunate. I wish we saw more Camerupt, but Camerupt is my favorite Pokemon, yep.
Oh, that's cool. No, and the logo is really neat, actually. So, and Cambridge is somewhere near you? Is that like the closest major city, or?
I just went with some UK city that had alliteration with Camerupt.
True, I'm not from Toronto,
There's
but
not really any story behind it.
I understand. Yeah, you just pick a major city. Some teams don't even have a city, whatever it is. They just go with a cool name like Supernova Jirachi, you know, something super lame like that, right? You know what I mean? If you know, you know.
Yeah.
But no. So let's
really.
Yeah, there's
some really lame name like that.
Yeah, Kev sucks, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, Kev sucks. Well, Squirly, it's great to have you. How are you feeling about the rest of the field and the rest of the teams and the upcoming season with this type of format? I'm
feeling pretty good. I mean, I'm pretty confident going into it. The teams are obviously all really scary because of the format we're doing with no tiers. But yeah, there's a few players I don't recognize, which will be interesting to play. Also a lot of players I do recognize, so it'll be very interesting. I'm looking forward to it. Yeah,
we get around in the Draft League community, don't we? A lot of familiar names, and one of the fun parts about the community as well is, like you said, some of the unfamiliar names, and it's like, ooh, new player, because we kind of adapt to the player sometimes rather than the team itself, and you're like, oh yeah, this guy would totally do this. They've got like a personality of team building and stuff, so we kind of get into a vibe of doing that. So no, that's cool. So yeah, I've gotten the same kind of reading from the other players as well. They're like, holy crap, look at the power, but I think this is going to be fun overall. So, which is good to hear that everyone is excited. But getting into your draft though, I usually kind of start starting with the draft itself, because it just kind of happened and we haven't really played any games yet. But on a scale of 1, well, I guess rate your draft on a scale of from I panicked mid-round to 10 out of 10 and would draft again. Like how did it go?
Okay, well, I mean, I followed a fairly kind of standard. I drafted very similarly to how I usually do. So, like, it wasn't perfect. Like, it was I probably give it like an 8. It wasn't quite perfect. However, I kind of just followed my plan and got everything for the most part, got everything that I wanted. So yeah, I'm pretty happy with the team.
Well, that's actually a little refreshing, because a lot of people kind of missed out on some key pieces, but you could definitely kind of see what you were going for there. The Archelodon nice and early, and I think everybody knew that the Pelipper was coming a little bit later, and then you ended up grabbing the Lando. So yeah, you got yourself a nice little rain team there. I think the only thing, maybe the Basque Legion, I think you mentioned the male one would have been nice, but
yeah,
the female one hits, I don't know, man, adaptability, it doesn't matter. I feel like the attack stat is nice, but I don't know. This thing, even at 92, this thing's still going to hit really hard in the rain. So I think you're going to be very happy with it. I had it one season, and I didn't even notice the difference. It was a different color, basically a shiny in my mind. But no, that's pretty cool. I'm glad you got pretty much everything you wanted. You have a lot of really nice pieces there. And do you remember when you got Urshifu?
Yes, I actually have it up right now in the order I got them in. Urshifu was my 5th draft Pokemon.
That's wild.
I was going to draft Basque Legion that round, and then I went, oh, shoot. I know Basque Legion's been taken. I don't really want to draft female round 5. I looked at Enamorus, I was like, I'm probably going to go for this, and then I realized, wait a moment.
There's an Urshifu still there.
It's right there. Yeah, I'm just going to grab that.
Yeah, that's an easy pivot. So no, that's pretty cool actually. Yeah, your team looks pretty solid, and we'll kind of keep diving into that. On your squad, which Pokemon on your squad do you think is going to be like surprising people more this season? Because you got your obvious synergy in some of them, but not necessarily the strongest, but just the one you think that would kind of pop. Like, what do you think it'd be?
Yeah, so I mean, obviously most of these Pokemon are very strong, so I don't think people will underestimate most of my team. However,
There's one that stands out.
is definitely it's definitely an interesting pick. I'm not going to go and pretend it's like the best Pokemon in my draft, but I do think it is a lot stronger than most people give it credit for. I mean, it does have that 130 attack. That's joint highest on my team with Urshifu.
Yep.
Like, this thing hits really hard.
I agree, especially with the Swift Swim and the Slush Rush. I think doesn't it have a third ability too?
Yes, Snow Cloak.
Oh yeah. So basically,
probably not going to use Snow Cloak.
Yeah, no. You run a defensive Bear Tick, like kind of run it like that VGC Articuno that was going around. Yeah, I don't think we're getting that. Run Blizzard Bear Tick.
Yeah, no.
Yeah. I don't even think Meowstic at Snowscape. So, yeah, so that's definitely... so everyone listening, everyone that's about to face Squirly this season, you don't have to plan for Snowcloak Bear Tick. No, I was looking at that one too, but I do think with the rain up, Bear Tick getting liquidation and stuff as well, I think that can be a little scary just in case you want to, say somebody has like a Sucker Punch user or something. You're like, you know what? Let's go Bear Tick this week instead of Basculegion, and you can kind of go back and forth. I really like that a lot. I see what you're doing there. I'm picking up what you're putting down with that pick. You know what I mean. But so that's one of the not the surprises, but like the ones that will do the surprising. But was there a moment in the draft that kind of caught you off guard, like a snipe, an unexpected pick from somebody that you're like, oh crap, I have to adjust to that, or just someone drafting something like wild?
Yeah, well, we're going to go back to the Basculegion snipe, since this was like the only time I got sniped. It's one of the reasons I like drafting Rain, is because like generally, if you're drafting Rain and no one else is drafting Rain, like you can kind of just pick up your pieces. But yeah, Basculegion got taken just before me, and it was, as you mentioned, a very surprising pick, because at this point, Kevs didn't really have any Rain pieces. So I was thinking, like, there's no way he's going to take it. I'm chill. I can just grab it next round. I don't have to worry about anything. And then I got the ping, looked in the draft channel, and there was Basculegion was. I was like, oh, God.
Yeah, and that would definitely rock anyone's draft plan, especially when there's something so uncommon like that. He even already had a ghost type at that point, too, so it's like, why?
I know. Yeah, I was really surprised by that.
Kev sucks. Like
I agree. Kev sucks.
Kev sucks.
Yeah. Basculegion's like my signature Pokemon as well.
Oh, no. So it actually, it was you two synergize really well, too. So that hurts even more. It's not just synergistic with the team. It's like you jive with it pretty well.
Yeah, exactly. I've been using it an awful lot for like a good 2 years now.
Yeah, that sucks. So I guess that might lead into my next question. So maybe I'll rephrase it. Like, let's say the Pokemon gods or Pokemon League gods give you a free do-over, one pick. Would you change anything? Maybe it's picking Basculegion a pick earlier.
Yeah, you already know it.
I don't like answering my own questions in these interviews, but that one seems kind of obvious. Is there a different one that might be a little more interesting than something we just talked about?
I don't know.
But you did say you got everything you wanted, so for the most part.
I mean, it was mainly that. Yeah, I did get pretty much everything I wanted. It was just the Basculegion, really, because as I said, like when you're drafting these like Rain teams, you can kind of just pick up your pieces because it's a very different archetype to what most people are just trying to build, like a kind of balanced team.
Yep.
Whereas these Rain pieces, I can just kind of pick them up one by one and then round the team out in the end.
Yeah, and I can definitely feel that as well because I draft the opposing archetype in Sun, and I was the only one that grabbed Sun this season, and you grabbed the only one with Rain. So yeah, I was definitely able to leave some of my Sunny Sun stuff, like Lilligant Hisui. That was like I think my last pick of the draft because why, right? And I guess
yeah,
the
no one's
comparable,
gonna take that.
yeah, but hey, no one was going to take Bastion Legion male, and here we are. So, I took a little bit of a risk. At least I had 2 of them, which it's funny. It's very similar of how that actually is, because I was like, if it's gone, I'll just go get the whatever gen that's from, not the Hisui one. Yeah, so it's pretty similar. But yeah, I liked it the way your team kind of like ended up, all things considered. But if your team kind of had like a personality trait, like RPG role, kind of party role, what would it be? Like glass cannon, tanky wall, trickster support? Like what do you think it'd be? Just kind of summarize it.
Well, it's pretty offensive, right? This typically with these rain teams, I do build them to be very, very offensive, more on the glass cannony side. Obviously, I do have some bulkier picks to kind of support the team a bit. Archaludon would be the main one.
Pelipper on the physical side.
If I want screen, yeah, Pelipper as well. Yeah, Pelipper you can run it a few different sets. Obviously you can go really bulky, or you can just run like Sash max special attack.
Equally scary.
Pretty flexible.
Yeah, it is a really cool mod. I've had Pelipper before in the past, and you'd be surprised all the sets that you can build. Like Tailwind sets, you can run the Focus Sash with like Icy Wind. Weather Ball is really nice against the Sun teams. Like obviously, like a lot of the Sun setters are weak to fire, so like Whimsicots and Klefkis and things like that. So you can just Weather Ball them that turn, and if they decide to set it, they get punished.
Yeah.
So Pelipper is a very cool mod, very underappreciated in its versatility, I would say, and I think you're gonna have a lot of fun with it this season. So yeah, that makes a lot of sense with what you just said. But when it comes to like coaching philosophy, so when you're building your weekly sets, like you as a player, are you thinking like, how do I position, or are you thinking like, how do I mess with their prep? Like, what kind of mindset do you lean towards?
Right. So generally, how I prep is I'm generally looking for consistency. So I'm looking at like, what can I lead that's not gonna immediately lose against anything that my opponent has. Ideally, looking for something that can have a positive matchup into whatever my opponent has, but obviously that's a bit matchup dependent. So I kind of start there, figure out what my game plan is, and build it around that. And then I'm looking at just like what Pokemon are generally good into the matchup. I can bring in the back if things go wrong.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. Like so many games are lost on turn 1, right? Just from a lead. You lead something, or you forget to bring something in the back. Like you bring, oh crap, I brought every ground weakness known to humankind, and I can't pivot in on this Ursaluna. It's like mistakes were made. So you would say kind of more so positioning and
Yeah, like because my team's quite aggressive, so I'm generally the teams I draft are quite aggressive with these rain strategies. So I'm trying to find something that's consistent from the start. I can't be affording to reposition too much because that not a lot of these Pokemon are on the frailer side. So I want to just be in a good position from the lead. I can't afford to switch too much. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Like, and looking at like average base stats and stuff like that on the special side, like looking at a lot of these teams, the base stat totals are so high, and the individual base stats in their niche roles. I would say that your team is probably a little lower on the special defense side. No.
A little bit. There is this Archaludon and Urshifu. Obviously, Archaludon often I do usually run it quite bulky.
Yeah.
I do have Iron Moth to cover for Urshifu, because obviously it quad resists fairy. It's got a pretty high special defense stat.
Very.
That was a lot of the reasoning I went for Iron Moth over like another similar type of fire type.
Yeah, and the HP stat is respectable too at 80. So like you don't even have to invest a lot of much in it. Like on the physical side, it's it dies to like an Aqua Jet.
It dies to anything.
But no, I think you've got some glass cannons that offer major offense, but you also have some really nice bulk and versatile Pokemon. So like this is a pretty well-rounded team. So I don't think like average stats don't really mean a whole lot. I feel like if anything, it draws people into a false sense of how to beat the team, especially if you kind of build the team properly, like a type chart. Like I know people that swear by it. They're like, oh, look at all the ground weaknesses, but meanwhile, those ground weaknesses are offset by like a couple of like major ground resists or an immunity that you're bringing every week, like Lando or something like that. So, so it depends how you really look at the whole thing rather than just face value team, and that might give you an advantage in your week to week. But speaking of your week to week, though, you've seen a list of the other teams and kind of how the draft ended up for a handful of them, actually all of them. Is there a team that kind of like, I guess, to make you pick a team, like which one is the most interesting? And then maybe I'll ask you which one's the scariest one. So which one's the most interesting that you saw drafted?
Oh, okay, interesting. I
And say why.
away, the weirdest one has to be the Munching Munchlax. While most of these teams have a lot of like meta threats, immediately they were going for, I can't remember what their first pick was, but it was like Scrafty, I think.
It was Scrafty, yeah.
So yeah, it's a really interesting team. Obviously, it's like hard Trick Room.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's turned out pretty well with like an Amorous, Ursaluna. It's a lot of Pokemon I wouldn't like. It's the type of team I would never personally use myself. I don't like Trick Room. I'll just say that.
Fair.
But yeah, it's really interesting how differently they approached it from all of the other coaches.
Well, it's refreshing too because this player Cisco, I don't think they've ever played draft before. I know they're a solid VGC player, so it's really nice and refreshing to kind of see their take on it. And once the team was finished, I think that if you can get Trick Room up confidently, and now you have Ursaluna Enamorous, now you have that fairy and ground kind of offense from, and not to mention on different sides of the spectrum, the physical and the special from either of them. So there's no Terra type that can save you from that combination. So this Trick Room mode is a lot scarier than I've heard people give it credit for. They're rating it and they're saying this team is kind of poor, but you said it was interesting rather than poor. But this team, like the Skarmory, I don't get it. Whatever. But
yeah, there's some picks that don't make much sense to me, but yeah.
But maybe there's
scary Pokemon.
The scary part is clearly this coach over here has some sort of. I think I messaged him midway through the draft and like, yo, what are you doing, guy? And he's like, trust me, I know what I'm doing. I'm like, that scares me. So I think I'm kind of curious to see that. I think that's a good answer, actually. The most intriguing / interesting team out here is because I don't really know how this team's going to play except for setting up Trick Room and going for it. But scariest team. So you mentioned the most interesting one. Which one's the scariest team?
Yes, I think the Los Angeles Lidoons with the Chi-Yu, Fluttermane, Landorus, Bundle, Iron Hands, P2. I could list the entire team.
Bunch of garbage Pokemon, right? They're not even that good. Like,
yeah, this team's scary. Obviously, they can go for Prankster Tailwind. They've also got Porygon 2 for Trick Room. So they can, flip their speed whichever way they want. And as well as just these really scary threats, obviously Fluttermane Chi-Yu. That's very iconic in VGC, that duo.
Well, and I think one of the scarier parts as well, I don't know if you played with this coach or against this coach, but I feel like certain teams are only certain teams until there's a certain pilot / driver behind it. And I feel like this player is very comfortable with a lot of those. And, it depends on the person who gets to pilot that team. And I think that's the scary part. This guy likes to go all gas, no brakes. And this team is very capable of doing that. So you might see a handful of quick wins or quick losses for that matter. The thing about HO is Hyper Offense is you either win fast or lose fast. So I think those games are going to be a lot of fun to watch, like you said. So that's a pretty scary team there. And yeah, the Chi-Yu, Fluttermane, and Bundle. Like I think Bundle was like round 6. Which is wild.
Yeah, Bundle lasted a while.
Yeah, and it can fit on pretty much any team. Like Freeze Your Eye, that strong is just so nice. Like you can't really pick a Terra against it. But I'm waiting to have a Hydro Pump miss count throughout the season. So I already told him that myself. Yeah, you're gonna miss a handful of those, and I'm gonna be there for every single one that you miss because I've missed enough of my own. But back to your team though. So let's say someone's watching the Cambridge Camerupts this season for the first time. What
Yeah.
What should they expect to kind of see in your battles, like chaos, clean play, or like sweeps, or like you did mention your team can do a bunch of different things. Like, what should they expect?
Yeah, so I mean, I
All the
will
above.
typically play. I'll generally play more offensively with most of these pieces. Obviously, things like Archaludon can be played a bit more defensively, but generally, I'm gonna be going quick. I'm comfortable just calling people out. Like you're gonna do this, and just hard predict them, right?
Read heavy. Yep.
Um, so yeah, this. Yeah, I'm gonna be. I think my games are generally pretty quick, unless my opponent's actively trying to stall or something. I've had that a few times.
Yeah, and I think there's not too many of the stall teams in a format like this. I think that I might see one or two of them. Like obviously Mario teams looking a little stally, but at the same time, I think that it might not be the format to do that. I think I got Mario on another time for an interview, and I'll ask him about it then. So I guess I like to do this with all these interviews as well near the end because I think we're basically done with the interview. But I wanted to get some rapid fire questions in if you're ready for it.
Sure.
Okay, so quick answers, no thinking, hot takes edition of the rapid fire round. Most overrated Pokemon in the meta right now.
In draft meta, Ursaluna.
Ooh, okay. I've heard some people say that it's the best Pokemon ever in draft, so that's a little different than what I've heard. So, no, I hear you. I'd like to talk to you about that after. One Pokemon ever that you would buff right now.
Camerupt.
Ooh,
it's garbage.
How would you buff it?
Give it Drought. I fucking dare you.
Mega Camerupt shout out. It gets Drought, right? The Mega?
It gets Sheer Force.
Oh,
it
wow.
It does not get Drought.
Oh, yeah, definitely give it Drought, and then Torkoal would never be used again. I think they have the same...
Give it Drought, and then you can Mega Evolve and get Sheer Force in the sun.
Oh, jeez. Just absolute cancer. Hey, what's the best gen for competitive battling?
Biased Gen 8.
Gen 8. Okay, so... Whoa. Best.
Exactly. The music went crazy.
You know what? I got super hyped listening to that music, so I agree with you. Except for the Dynamax, I hate it, and I wish it never comes back and dies. What's an item? I'll make this a popular item. What's a popular item that you almost never find yourself using?
Ooh, I think Clear Amulet isn't as good as people think.
Fair. I remember before the game came out, they were announcing the moves. Remember that little trailer they had? It's like, oh, here's Thunderclap, and here's Upper Hand, and here's an item. And that was one of them, the Clear Amulet. So you think that it's you don't really use it. It's not so much. It's not good. It's you just don't find yourself.
In regular VGC, I think it's a bit better where you've got slower games and Incineroars like coming in and out all the time. But in Draft League, there's other ways around Intimidate, and like you can't guarantee they're gonna bring their Intimidate Pokemon.
Fair.
Even, and it's just like you're avoiding like a 33% drop, or you could run Life Orb and get a 30% buff anyway. So it's like.
Well, one of my favorite things to do against a clear Intimidator is I like to run Choice Band. It's like, well, if you don't intimidate me, I'm hitting super hard, and if you do, I'm just hitting at neutral. So that's the way I like to kind of do it. So no, that's funny that we both have the same mindset on that. What do you think is the most slept on ability?
Ooh, okay, this one's a bit harder. Well, I think Snow could be good. General like the snow setting Pokemon.
Oh yeah.
I've not tried it myself. I do really want to at some point. I think there's a lot of really strong looking snow Pokemon that are kind of just getting ignored. Like obviously I'm using Beartic on my rain team, but it would go even better in snow. And yes, a Titan is really scary looking.
Yeah, I had Titan one time, and I really enjoyed it. It gets some really nice things. And I think Wolfie actually made #1 in the world on the in-game ladder with it, just for fun, because he's just that kind of player. Last question for the rapid fire. Which Pokemon do you double hate prepping for?
Hate prepping for Iron Bundle because it beats all my rain teams, like, all the time.
Yeah, I guess if you're a rain guy, then yeah, you would hate the freeze dry stuff, and Yeah, and Bundle could definitely benefit from the Hydro Pump too, from the boost. Like, thank you very much, you know, and then move on.
It's like I boost its Hydro Pump, it hits all my Pokemon super effectively, and it's not fun.
Yeah, it's definitely not fun. You got to have your counters for that, and I think your team definitely has a handful of them. So I guess final message to the league, like the mic's yours. Any final words for your fellow competitors or your fans watching to ride the lava wave with the Camerupts?
Yes, well, I'm sure it's going to be a great season. I'm looking forward to it. And yeah, I'm looking forward to winning.
You and everybody else, including the interviewee or interviewer. Yeah, I'm going for it too, but I don't get an interview, so I guess we'll just stick with you guys winning, and I'll just finish last, and you all tie for first. So that's SquirlyVGC, folks, and the rest of the team officially fired up for the YPL season. If you're rooting for Squirly or just excited to see some spicy sets in action, hit the like button. Sub to Squirly's channel, actually. I'll have it below in the description. Sub to both of us, sub to everybody. That way you can kind of get everybody's matches as they come out. And let us know in the comments, like, which mon is going to carry the Camerupts this season. We talked about a couple that we thought, but what do you think? So comment down below. More interviews and team spotlights are on the way, so see you next time. See you guys.